Perfect. Perfect. Okay. So today we have His Holiness Giriraj Maharaj joining us again. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for joining us. And please, the floor is all yours.
All right. I will begin by singing the Mangala Charana prayers and leading a short kirtan. And then I will read from my forthcoming book about traveling with Srila Prabhupada in India. And today I will read about Indore. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupa Prakatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savdutam Harijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Aschatya Deshatari Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariprajapacharya Stotra Sitasi Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramhansa Pariprajapacharya Stotra Sitasi Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivas Adi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Sham Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Navadvip Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Samveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Nitai-gaurasundara Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. So, my dear devotees, I will be reading from my forthcoming book called Dancing White Elephants, Traveling with Srila Prabhupada in India, August 1970 to March 1972. And in previous meetings, we have spoken about Madras and about Surat, and today we will speak about Indore. That is chapter 4, December 3rd to December 15th, 1971. After a month in Bombay, Srila Prabhupada proceeded to Indore by invitation of the Gita Bhavan for the Gita Jayanti Mahotsav, the celebration of Lord Krishna speaking the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. And on December 8th, at his request, our group, we were in Delhi, minus Guru Das, who was working to get customs clearance for Prabhupada's books, joined him from Delhi. The organizers had assigned Prabhupada a cottage with a lawn and garden and housed the rest of us nearby. After settling into our quarters, we toured the festival site's large pandal and stage, the Gita Bhavan Eye Hospital, and an extensive diorama exhibit with an eclectic mix of spiritual paths. It was kind of like a pseudo-spiritual museum, and we were impressed by the energy and imagination that went into the center, but dubious about the legitimacy of it all. Krishna, Buddha, Jesus, Vivekananda, Ramakrishna, as well as demigods and even animals were all on display, which Srila Prabhupada referred to dismissively as hodgepodge. Where in the Bhagavad Gita does it say that you should open an eye hospital, he asked. But if I tell them that, they will feel offended. Later, when we entered the darshan room of Prabhupada's cottage, he looked up from his desk. Srila Prabhupada, Yamuna remarked, you look just like a picture I have seen of your Guru Maharaj looking up from his desk. All that glitters is not gold, he replied. My Guru Maharaj was like gold. I am like iron. Of course, we knew that he was pure gold, just like his Guru Maharaj. Yamuna Devi recalled how Srila Prabhupada dealt with each of us individually was the greatest gift. I'm astounded when I reflect on it. He treated everyone on a personal basis and encouraged us in our practice of Krishna consciousness. I felt that he genuinely loved each of us, and he exhibited that love through how he took care of us with great concern, compassion, and correction when required. He personally took me to my room, which contained a small bed and a metal armoire, it's like a cupboard. He took out a small key, opened the armoire, and said, "Here is space for your belongings. Is this all right?" I was thinking, here I am, an insignificant person in his party, yet he is showing so much concern for my welfare. And that same concern and kindness he showed to me, he showed to everyone in the party by taking into account our natures, our characters, our individuality. We were his World Sankirtan party, his preachers, and at every moment we were reminded how important this was to Srila Prabhupada, this traveling Sankirtan. Prabhupada was scheduled as the last speaker of the first night of the festival, so we all had to sit on stage for hours, listening to assortments of sadhus and swamis give a series of long lectures in Hindi on Mayavad misconceptions. Srila Prabhupada sat with us and waited, chanting japa. When it was finally his turn to speak, he described how he was spreading the teachings of the Bhagavad Gita in the West. The Gita, he said, was for devotees of Krishna and should not be misinterpreted, which would be cheating in the name of religion. At the end of his talk, he asked us to have kirtan. And when he joined us in dance on stage, the crowd came to life and began clapping rhythmically. Hansaduta jumped down into the crowd, still playing mridanga. Then other devotees joined him, and soon hundreds of people rose to their feet and joined the kirtan and dancing. The next day, pleased by the performance, the Pandal directors visited Srila Prabhupada in his quarters. Prabhupada complained about having to wait so long to speak, and his disciples having to sit through hours of speeches that deviated from the teachings of the Gita in a language they couldn't understand. But the director replied, "We do not favor any particular way. Followers of the Shankara school and others also come to our institution. We do not subscribe wholly that Sri Krishna is the sole God or anything of the sort. There is a power behind him." This remark drew fire from Prabhupada. What kind of glorification of the Gita did not accept Krishna as the supreme personality of Godhead, the highest truth, Mata Parataram Nanyat? And the man had left. Prabhupada continued, They are thinking that there is something beyond Krishna, or that it is the spirit within Krishna that we have to surrender to. But they do not know that the within and the without of Krishna are all absolute, eternal, and full of bliss. As an Amritsar, he could see that the festival organizers had invited him to draw larger crowds. But they would not make him sit through all the Mayavadi nonsense. From then on, he said, he would go with his disciples, speak, chant, and then leave. The next night, however, despite promises by the Pandal directors, Srila Prabhupada again had to wait until the end of the program before he could speak and hold kirtan. The crowd was larger than before, and they were clearly waiting for Prabhupada and his foreign sadhus. When Prabhupada's turn came at last, he spoke and then asked us to begin kirtan. Again, the crowd responded enthusiastically, but during the kirtan, one of the members of the Gita Bhavan gestured to the devotees to jump down into the crowd as they had done the previous night. But what the devotees had done spontaneously the night before could not be staged as a crowd pleaser. The man, however, was insistent. He came forward to the edge of the stage, reached up and began grabbing at the feet of the dancing devotees, trying to pull them into the audience. Grabbing indiscriminately, he pulled at one of the women's saris. Srila Prabhupada was also dancing. But when he saw what was happening, he rushed to the edge of the stage and swung his kartaus towards the man's face and shouted, "Stop this." The man retreated, and Prabhupada and the rest of us continued our kirtan. Although little noticed by the crowd, Prabhupada's burst of lion-like ferocity impressed and inspired us, his disciples. One evening, Vairagi Baba, an educated follower of Lord Chaitanya who had visited America and spoke fluent English, and who had participated in one of our programs in Bombay, joined Srila Prabhupada and the devotees on the stage. And Prabhupada got up off the Vyasa and came right in front of him and began to jump up and down and dance in an effort to encourage him also to jump up and down and dance. And there were the two of them jumping up and down and dancing before thousands of people. The festival directors were again pleased with Prabhupada's lecture and kirtan, but he sent them word that he would no longer sit through the other speakers waiting for his turn. He had wearied of hearing opinions on the Bhagavad Gita that avoided its conclusion: surrender to Sri Krishna, the absolute truth. Some speakers made the Gita an allegory. Some said that Krishna was not an actual historical personality. And some just took advantage of the Gita's popularity to put forward their own political or social philosophies. A person with his own philosophy should write his own book, Prabhupada said, not use as a vehicle for his ideas the Bhagavad Gita, a scripture worshipped by millions and respected throughout the world. Why should a conference under the name Gita Jayanti become a forum for speculative philosophies? The Bhagavad Gita itself states that it was the essence of knowledge, meant to benefit the entire world. To misrepresent the Gita was therefore the greatest disservice. Prabhupada felt that by sitting through such a program, he and his disciples were tacitly approving the blasphemous speeches. On the third night of the festival, Prabhupada came with us early to the stage, having been promised that he would be first on the program. But when another speaker stood and began his discourse, Prabhupada, followed by the rest of us, stood and walked off the stage. The festival director was quite disturbed by this, since most of the audience had come especially for the kirtan, and he pleaded with Prabhupada to return. But Prabhupada refused, though he agreed to send his disciples back in his stead. We would speak in a whole kirtan. Thereafter, Prabhupada stayed back at his college during the evening programs, and Hansaduta and sometimes Himavati spoke. But as before, we had to sit on the stage for hours and listen to the Mayavadis speak nonsense, while the audience was eagerly waiting for our kirtan. We repeatedly asked the organizers of the program to tell us exactly what time we would perform, and we would come exactly at that time. And every day, we were given a time and we came. But every evening, the Mayavadis went on and on, well past the time we were supposed to begin. Finally, Hansaduta told the organizers, "If you make us wait like this anymore, we're not going to come." The following night, however, once more, we had to wait, so we didn't attend the next program. The organizers were again upset. Everyone in the audience had been waiting for us, so they came to Srila Prabhupada's cottage in a group to complain. "Why should I make them sit through some Mayavadi speaking nonsense in Hindi, which they don't even understand?" Prabhupada replied. That pretty much silenced the organizers. One of the Mayavadis, at least, who went by the name Muktananda Swami, did join our movement. We were impressed by his change of heart and considered it to be like Prakashananda Saraswati and all of his followers' conversion by Lord Chaitanya to Vaishnavism. We had never had a Mayavadi sannyasi join us, so he asked Srila Prabhupada what his position would be. Prabhupada said that Muktananda should give up his sannyas garments and dress and live like a brahmachari. Eventually, Muktananda went through the standard procedure of getting first and then getting second initiation. Prabhupada was pleased that he had joined and would sometimes address remarks to him for encouragement. When we were not engaged in attending programs or giving talks at the Pandal, Srila Prabhupada would send Hansaduta out to make life members. He had no experience, but one day, he recalled, Prabhupada told me to go to the market with a neighbor and take these books, 3 Krishna books, and try to make some life members. Just show them the books, he said, and tell them this is a token of our work. Then ask them to please help our mission by becoming a life member for 1,111 rupees. I was thinking that no one was going to give 1,000 rupees for 2 or 3 books. so I didn't do anything about it. I just avoided the issue. The next day, Prabhupada gave the same instruction, but again, I didn't do anything. On the third day, he said I had to go. So I went next door and got a man who took me to the cloth merchants. We went to the shop of the biggest cloth merchant in Indore. The man didn't speak English, so the neighbor who had accompanied me translated. Tell him this, tell him that. And the man would translate. After I had exhausted my presentation, I said, now ask him to give a check for 1,111 rupees. My translator relayed the message, and the merchant immediately took out his checkbook and wrote the check. We visited another merchant, and the same thing happened. He immediately wrote a check. And then we went to another merchant, and he also became a life member. So I made 3 life members on the first day. And when I came back and told Prabhupada, he was in ecstasy. One day, we were invited to an admirer's house for lunch. And Vairagi Baba was also there. But we noticed that after the meal, he was drinking tea. So in a casual way, but with an element of challenge, I asked him why. He replied, oh, I am Avaduta. I had never heard that word before, so I told Srila Prabhupada what had happened and asked what it meant. Prabhupada smiled and said, Avaduta means one who is above the regulated principles. Generally, this refers to Nityananda Prabhu. And he indicated his disapproval of Vairagi Baba's both drinking tea and referring to himself in such a manner. Another question I asked Srila Prabhupada during a break during a street program, at which I found myself sitting next to him on the stage, was about a verse that he often quoted. Dhruva Maharaja's words, Swamin Kritarthosmi Varam Nayache. I am fully satisfied. I have no demands. When I asked Prabhupada where the book came from, he replied, I think from the Hari Bhakti Sudodaya. The words, I think, struck me. I knew that Prabhupada knew everything, and the way he said it was so gentle and humble. A palmist during this period, I see, yeah, excuse me. On December 14th, Srila Prabhupada also accepted an invitation from a wealthy gentleman who was related to the royal family. Prabhupada spoke with the man about the importance of Krishna consciousness. Then he showed him his books and asked him to become a life member. I already have these books in my own language, the man responded. I don't need any more. Srila Prabhupada became stern. I have not come here to sell you some books. I have come here begging at your doorstep. Taken aback, the man immediately joined. Oh yes, Swamiji, I will become your member. I will be glad to become your member. When we proceeded to the dining room for lunch, our host seated Srila Prabhupada at the head of the long banquet table, and I took my place at Prabhupada's right. Then we all honored prasad. Having been trained to follow a strict brahmachari lifestyle, I was particularly reserved about eating sweets. And especially seated next to Srila Prabhupada, I tried not to take too much of the more opulent preparations. I didn't want to indulge in sense gratification, and I certainly didn't want Prabhupada to think I was doing so. So even when the host's elderly father repeatedly tried to serve me a second rasagula, I refused. Prabhupada could see that the host's father was disappointed, though, and finally he glanced at me and said, "You can take a sweet to make an old man happy." And so I did. During this period, Srila Prabhupada gave a nice explanation of one of the defects of the impersonal argument. Often people say, God is in your heart, you are God. Srila Prabhupada said that this was illogical. You may say, I am in your apartment, but that does not mean I am your apartment. One gentleman raised some points about the impersonal philosophy, quoting, Aham Brahmasmi, which means literally, I am Brahman, spirit. But some people take it to mean I am God. Prabhupada explained that if you say, I am Indian, that doesn't mean you are the prime minister. You are Indian and the prime minister is Indian, but still the prime minister is the prime minister. In the same way, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, and God is Brahman, doesn't mean you are the supreme Brahman. A palmist came to Srila Prabhupada's cottage one day and wanted to read our palms. He turned to Srila Prabhupada and he said it was all right. So the palm reader looked at all of our hands and made predictions about each of us. This one will become a great devotee. This one will go back to Godhead in this life. This one will fall away. This one won't make it in this life, but he will have to come back and try again. After the palmist left, we looked at Prabhupada for guidance as to what to make of the whole thing. He said, as soon as you clap your hands 3 times in front of the deities during Arti, all the lines are wiped off. Thus, in essence, he dismissed the palmist's predictions. Many gentlemen came to meet Srila Prabhupada, usually with their own ideas of spiritual life. He even complained. They come to the Guru with their own opinions to see if the Guru will agree. If the Guru agrees, he is very good. But if the Guru disagrees, they think he is not good. One argument he had with some guests was especially instructive. On the previous night, he had delivered a lecture at the Gita Samiti Hall, where he was appalled to find that there was no picture of Krishna. The next day, he raised the issue with his guests to point out that many people were not properly understanding the Bhagavad Gita and its speaker, Lord Krishna. He explained that his mission was to present the Gita properly as it is, and to expose those who did not. Prabhupada. Bona fide spiritual master means one who carries out the order of higher authorities. We are carrying out the order of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or Krishna. Krishna taught the Bhagavad Gita, and he stated, anyone who preaches the confidential message of the Bhagavad Gita is very dear to me. Guest. We believe in an incorporeal God, Nirakar, Prabhupada. Who says incorporeal? That means without body or without form. Who says? Yes. You find all over India that incorporeal form, Jyotirlinga. Prabhupada, that's all right. You are bringing something besides the Bhagavad Gita. Just try to understand. In this International Society for Krishna Consciousness, we are preaching the Bhagavad Gita. Jyotirlinga, these theories may be there in other literatures, but we are particularly interested in preaching the Bhagavad Gita. And because the Bhagavad Gita is being preached wrongly all over the world with nonsense commentation, we want to rectify it. Therefore, our society is especially named Krishna Consciousness. Guest, what is wrongly preached about the Gita? Prabhupada, just like yesterday, I went to that Gita Samiti, Gita Society. There is a lamp. Why a lamp instead of Krishna? Krishna is a lamp. Therefore, I say it is being wrongly preached. Why is there a lamp? Does Krishna say? Guest, lamp has been with us for more than Prabhupada. That's all right. Krishna has also been there. Yes, they must evolve, Prabhupada. No. The first thing is that the Bhagavad Gita is spoken by Krishna. So why there is no picture of Krishna? That means you have not understood Krishna. Therefore, your so-called Gita Society is not bona fide. Even in ordinary affairs, if there's some political meeting, you keep Gandhi's photo, Nehru's photo, because they are the political leaders. Gita is preaching the Bhagavad Gita, and there is not a single picture of Krishna. This is misguided. Now, Gita Bhavan, they have invited me because we are teaching the Bhagavad Gita. And that was the Gita's Jayanti. And the speaker of the Gita is not present. Therefore, I say that there are so many places, even here, that are wrongly representing the Bhagavad Gita. So our position is to rectify that wrong propaganda. Guess two. What is that wrong propaganda? Prabhupada, that is one instance. There are many. Just like in the 9th chapter, there is Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto Madhyajinam Namaskuru. Lord Krishna says, engage your mind always in thinking of me. Become my devotee, offer obeisances to me, and worship me. But Dr. Radhakrishnan says it is not to the person Krishna. Where does he get this nonsense idea? Guess one. No, Vivekananda has also said that. Prabhupada. Therefore, I say they are all nonsense. They are all nonsense who deviate from the original text of the Bhagavad Gita. The guest challenged Prabhupada's statement that his presentation of the Bhagavad Gita was correct, whereas others were not. They said he should see and treat others with equal vision. Guest 5. If each and every person has an individual identity of soul above the body, unless you treat him as equal, Prabhupada, there are 3 gunas, and the Bhagavad Gita analyzes. These are in Sattva gun, these persons are in Rajagun, these persons are in Tamagun. Guest 5. That is not the personality of the Atma. The Atma is everybody's soul. If you have the potency to rise and go higher and higher, Prabhupada, you are not in the Atma stage. I'm not in the Atma stage. You are in the bodily stage. Guest 5, both, body and soul together. Srila Prabhupada challenged the guests. If they saw everyone equally, why did they find fault with him? If you are in the Atma stage, he asserted, you have no argument with me. Pandita Samadarshana. That is stated in the Bhagavad Gita 5:18. Vidya Vinay Sampane Brahmane Gavyastini Shuni Chaiva Shapake Cha Pandita Samadarshana. The humble sage, by virtue of true knowledge, sees with equal vision a learned and gentle Brahmin, a cow, an elephant, a dog, and a dog eater. Yes, 3. That is the correct position. Prabhupada, that is the correct position. But if you find that Swamiji is not on the standard, that means you are not in the position, Samadarshina. Yes, 3. But that means that if a person commits a murder, a sinner, Prabhupada, yes, that is a very high stage, Samadarshina. Samadarshina means there is no distinction between what is sin and what is virtue. As soon as you see this is virtue and this is sin, it is not Samadarshina. Here it is clearly said, Vidya Vinay Sampane Brahmane. A Brahmin is learned and Vinay, very humble. These are signs of goodness. Vidya Vinay Sampane Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni. Shuni means dog. He sees a dog and a learned Brahmin the same. Now, the dog is supposed to be sinful, and this learned Brahmin is supposed to be virtuous. Therefore, in his vision, the virtuous and the sinful are the same. That is Samadarshi. Guest 1. I think they have made many mistakes in writing the shlokas. Prabhupada, that's all right. Now you are finding faults in Vyas. So who can talk with you? Please excuse me. Please go out. You are finding faults with Vyas. Guest 4. We only want you to be understood here. Prabhupada, shouting, I am not Samadarshi. I don't say I am Samadarshi. You may Samadarshi. You say Samadarshi. Guess 2. You should be Samadarshi. Prabhupada, but I'm not in that stage. I say that because you don't surrender to Krishna, you are sinful. That is my darshan. Guess 5. You should also be seen as Samadarshina. Prabhupada, no, why shall I? I'm not in that position. I'm simply repeating the words of Krishna. That is my point. I may be Samadarshi, I may not be Samadarshi. My position is to repeat. That's all. Finally, the 6th guest raised one last question. But every successive teacher has added some interpretation of the knowledge, no? Guest 4. You are the successor of somebody. Prabhupada, yes, yes. Guest 5. Then what is your contribution? That is what we are asking. What is Samadarshi? How you become Samadarshi? Guest 6. You are teaching others to be Samadarshi. Prabhupada, my Samadarshi is that why should only Hindus know Krishna? The whole world should know Krishna. But if you, the Hindus, refuse to know, what can I do? By Srila Prabhupada's practical work, he had made Krishna consciousness available to persons all over the world. That was his equal vision, and that was his contribution to his predecessors and to us. He was presenting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the Bhagavad Gita as it is. And people all over the world were accepting and becoming Krishna's devotees. The guests were impressed, and if they wanted, they could also follow and benefit. Baba Bal Mukund, one of the sadhus who attended the Gita Jayanti, summarized Srila Prabhupada's contribution. Quote, I've seen many sadhus and great saints in this Gita Bhavan. I saw Srila Prabhupada also in the same place. I was very much impressed by Srila Prabhupada and his preaching. It was because Prabhupada had revealed the reality about bhakti, because he was a pure devout bhakta, that he could change the people of the West and give them another dress, give them another diet, and he could entirely change their culture and give them true bhakti. And this was the greatest thing Prabhupada has done. Let the world say as it likes, but he has done a marvelous thing regarding Lord Krishna's bhakti. What Swami Vivekananda, Swami Ramatirtha, and others could not do, Srila Prabhupada has done. It is a marvelous thing. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, my dear devotees, thank you for listening so patiently and attentively. And now, if any of you have any questions or comments, you can raise your hand, your physical hand or your virtual hand, and we will discuss further. Yes, Nitai-gaurasundara Prabhu.
Maharaj, how many chapters in this book?
Oh, how many chapters?
Maharaj,
Yeah, one moment. I think there's 12, but I'll double check.
so may I request you to continue?
Yeah, there are. Yeah. There's definitely more material. I can continue. I can continue in our next.
Before we get the book, we can have the nectar.
Okay, sure.
So nice, so merciful, Maharaj. Thank you, Maharaj.
Yeah,
That's my request. So
my
you
pleasure.
can see Prabhupada, who Prabhupada is.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj.
So is there anything else? If not, then, oh, I see a hand went up. Radhika Thakurani. Is that, yes.
Hare Krishna, dear Guru Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Accept my humble obeisances, Guru Maharaj. I'm sorry, I'm traveling. Am I audible enough?
Yes, you are.
Guru Maharaj, a few days ago, in my office, I was having a discussion with a colleague wherein she started mentioning that she was reading one of Srila Prabhupada's books, and it was a small book. And she was kind of raising the point that in the book it is mentioned a lot about family life, that we should not have family life and everybody should give up everything and just surrender their lives to Krishna. And she was kind of trying to make the point, but that Krishna himself has a wonderful life and he does everything. So why are we asked to, not have a family life? And so, Guru Maharaj, I try to say a few things like, we need to know the context. Which book was it? In what context was Srila Prabhupada saying this? If because I have been in ISKCON since my birth and I have never heard anything against family life. And I also try to make the point that Krishna is God and we cannot imitate him. We need to follow the instructions. And she started talking about Lord Rama and how, he is more ideal. And I try to it's an incarnation of the human form. And the purpose of his incarnation was to establish the good behavior as a human being. So I tried to make a few points, Guru Maharaj, but she was not very convinced about thing than listening to his stories. So Guru Maharaj, is there anything else I could have said?
Well, I mean, maybe in some place Srila Prabhupada advised against marriage and family life. But as a rule, he did not discourage marriage and family life. And I mean, he himself was a householder. Lord Chaitanya was a householder. So we can't really say that Srila Prabhupada was against marriage or family life. That is not correct. And yes, different incarnations have different functions. Lord Ramachandra was acting as the ideal king, as the ideal husband, as the ideal son, as the ideal brother. That was his purpose. Whereas Krishna was acting as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Supreme Enjoyer. So if she appreciates Lord Ram more, that's okay. She can be a devotee of Lord Ram. But Lord Ram is not different from Krishna. He is Krishna, but he's manifesting himself as the ideal human being, you could say. Of course, he's not a human being, he's God, but he is behaving as the ideal human being. She should read more. I think she should read more.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Any other questions or comments? If not, then I suggest we conclude with Vaishnava Pranam. Let us offer our respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who are just like desired trees, who can fulfill the desires of everyone and are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vanchakalpa trubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, wonderful.